what I'm doing now, and more, I guess you could say faithfully, habit forming, is writing in my journal every day. But it's not just writing, oh, this and this happened. It's specific writing. So I write down what my 5 things that I'm grateful for that happened in the last 24 hours. And then after that, I write my goals that I have for myself that have already happened 10 years from now.
Oh, I love it.
So because I was told that your subconscious mind focuses on what it is you feed it the most, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're focusing on just what happened now and all in the past, you never get over that. And then you can't plan for the future because you're still stuck in the past.
Yeah.
And I found that I lived a lot like that, where I'd be like, oh, I wish my kids were still little. I wish this happened. And, oh, I wish I was on this vacation still. Instead of living my life to be able to do it again or get to something even greater. So I write down the 10 things that I want to have happened in the next 10 years. And then I write down the goal that I'm working on today and what I'm doing to get me closer to that goal. And that is what's carrying me on to remember, because it's in my head to the point where I don't even have to look at the last page anymore to make sure that I'm writing down what it is that I'm working towards. It's like, I know it's this one. I know it's this one. I know it because I'm thinking about it every day and I'm writing about it every day. And it's not different every day. So it's helping me to stay focused on it more.
I love it.
Yeah.
So if you're just joining us, my name's Danielle Low, owner and operator of I Am Eve Events. And I'm here joined by Shauna Holthe, who's a blogger, inspirational writer, motivational speaker, and a great friend. I'm going to throw that in too.
Yes.
And if you want to check her out on Instagram, Facebook, just Shauna Holthe or at Shauna Holthe on Facebook. And
Instagram.
Oh, yeah, thank you. See, I can't even remember that.
Yeah, that's all good.
But now, we've been talking about remember and why that's such an important word and different things that help you remember. Mm-hmm. Now, what if we can't remember or we're feeling stuck?
Well,
what can we do?
For me, I felt really stuck for probably a good 4 years, where I just felt like I was in a rut and I felt like life is as good as it's gonna get. This is just what I do. And it got me really depressed because I was like, I have always told everybody there is a whole world out there. I am like wanting to travel it. I want to see what there is out there. I'm telling my kids, don't settle for this. You can go out there and there's a whole world at your fingertips. And then I'm stuck in a small little town feeling like, well, this is as good as it's gonna get. And I was like, this just doesn't make sense. How is this what my life is going to be like? How can I have all these big, audacious dreams to do and see things, and yet here I am just content, I guess you could say, with the regular mundane and not feeling like I'm going anywhere or doing anything. And then I read this little quote that said, your body tells you what it needs, right? Yeah. So if you're thirsty, it means you need a drink, right?
And usually by the time you drink, you're already dehydrated.
Yeah.
FYI.
Half your body weight in ounces of water every day.
Drink.
But if you're hungry, your body is going to tell you by making rumbly noises and making you feel hungry, you need food, right?
Except for be careful when it's always craving McDonald's French fries.
Right. Or chocolate.
Or chocolate. Or ice cream now that it's hot outside.
Right.
I do find that if you listen, it will tell you, but be wise about it.
Yes.
Because your body will be like,
it'll trick you.
Yes.
But you don't want to listen to the cravings.
Yes.
I'm talking more what your body is genuinely telling you.
For sure.
And so for me, in this little thing that I read, it also said that when you feel stuck, it means you're not learning, and your body is craving growth. I was like, no wonder I feel so stuck. I'm so busy raising all these little babies of mine and making sure that they're empowered and feeling good, like they can take on the world. But what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing to show them how to do it? What am I doing to encourage them by me doing it? So when they're like, well, Mom, what's making you happy? I'd be like, just seeing you happy, sweetheart. That's a total lie. I was miserable.
Right?
I was totally miserable. And so I have like older teens, and I'm telling them that they can do all these things and shoot for the stars. And they're like, well, how do you do it? And I can't just tell them. You have to show them that, because it's different for everybody. So I started to read different books that started to inspire me, that made me go, I need to teach my kids by doing it myself. And so that's changed my paradigm and how I look at things, and how I put my priority of learning first, and how I am encouraging them to be able to do it. And it's not just how to do it, but it's them watching me learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Because of the different things I'm reading. And then if you don't, you can have all the knowledge there is in the world, but if you're not actually implementing it, it does you no good.
I agree. I just read a book from Brene Brown, The Vulnerability of Parenting, and she says exactly that. Our children need to see us
working and struggling and achieving for something greater than us, right?
And failing and learning how to pick up and put it all back together, or struggle. And she uses this example of her husband learning piano, and she said, if I have to hear Ode to Joy one more time. You know, she said, but their 6-year-old son was just relishing in the fact that, hey, he can play better than Dad, but he saw Dad continuing, even if it wasn't a perfect response. He saw the process, and she said, like, don't hide our failures in front of our kids. Obviously make it kid appropriate and age appropriate to our kids. But I love the fact that, you know, if you really want your kids to be these humans that are out making a difference, then you better be doing it.
Yeah, you get your feet dirty. One of the things that I've read a lot of Rachel Hollis lately.
Okay, I was gonna say there's some things that
are triggering.
The 10 list has, like, I can't remember if it was Gabby Bernstein or Hollis.
No, it was Rachel.
And her new book, right?
Yeah. Girl, Stop Apologizing.
Stop Apologizing. Yeah. Thanks,
Fabulous.
Rachel.
Rachel, we love you.
Shout out to the good that she's doing. Yeah. And it's motivational.
It is. And one of the things that she said is goals are dreams with their work boots on. Yeah. If you are dreaming, it's just a dream. It's not ever going to actually happen. But if you set it as a goal, it's your dream finally putting on your work boots, and you're getting out there and you're doing something about it. And that's what fuels you to continue to do more. And your kids can see that passion in you. Yeah. If you're not doing anything about these dreams and that you have, they're going to think, well, there's no sense in dreaming because Mom dreams all the time and she's not getting anywhere.
Well, really the best teacher is by example and showing. And so, yeah, I love that part. So that feeling stuck, you were feeling stuck, you started reading. So what are those, how do we know if we are feeling stuck?
Well, for me, like I said, I just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't doing anything. And anytime I'd think, oh, maybe I could do this, I'd come up with a whole bunch of excuses as to why I couldn't. And so I was putting more limits on myself, which made me feel even heavier and weighed down. And that's where I was like, wait a second. I'm doing this to myself. We do it to ourselves, and we don't even realize it because usually it's such a slow process. But for me, I kept saying, oh, I have mush for brains, I have mom brain. But really it was overload of trying to remember everybody else's stuff. And so I eventually just started to let them carry their own, where I'm like, you guys have your own things. You need to help remember yourself. It can't be me all the time. I'm raising you to kick you out of my house, not to keep you here forever. I might wish you were little forever, but I know it's not true, and that's just a dream because I'm not going to make that happen. But it makes a huge difference when you start to let go of things that aren't yours to carry. Yeah. And then all of a sudden your brain is like, oh, I can think again.
We talked about this last week too with my other guest, Jennifer Obiet, and we said we do too much for our children. If we continue to do too much, they don't learn those skills that are necessary to help them.
Well, and then they don't feel empowered either. If you're doing it for them, it's like you're telling them, you are not smart enough or capable enough to handle this, so I'm going to do it for you. When really, it's the opposite. You want it the other way around, because you're going to break, and they're going to be like, Mom, do more.
So what were one of the jobs or chores that you gave up?
Well, I make my kids make their own appointments, and I have for a while. Once they turn 12, they make their own appointments. If they're like, I'm
Like
sick,
doctor?
yeah, doctor, dentist, chiropractor, massage, whatever appointment it is they need, I make them do it themselves, because that's one of the things that's harder for me to remember is date and time for everybody, for everything, because the numbers just start to jumble. So that was definitely one of them. I've got these lists of things that my kids, kind of expectations, I guess, that a 4-year-old can do, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, all the way up to a 19-year-old. And so I am very good at going through that book with them at least twice a year.
Like a childhood development book? Is that
Kind
what you
of,
have?
yeah.
Okay.
And the best part of that is they can say, hey, look, this is all the stuff I can do.
Yeah.
And they can feel like, hey, I am not stupid, and I can do this. Or they can be like, you haven't taught me to do this yet. I need to learn how to do it. And then it's not me going, you need to learn how to do this, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole point of this book and these lists is to get them to the point where I know that if they leave, they're going to be okay. And they know they're going to be able to be okay, because they can say, look at all the things that I can do.
I love it. I've
So-
never thought about having my kids make their own appointments.
Yeah.
I would never know when they were going.
Well, they definitely still tell me, and I write it
Yeah.
down, but I don't give it to my brain to remember. That's
Yeah.
not my responsibility. And if they miss it, then it's like, not my pig, not my farm. That's your responsibility. You need to be able to own that.
I say not my monkeys, not my circus.
I'm a country girl.
That's right. I can tell you don't live in the city. I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
I'd like to welcome everyone who's joining us, and especially welcome Shauna Holthe, who's here on My People. My name's Danielle Low, and I am owner-operator of I Am Eve Events. You can check out my blog and my ideas on iameve.com, or you can read some of Shauna Holthe's ideas and right on Facebook at Shauna Holthe, or on Instagram at Shauna
Shauna
Holthe.
Holthe, yeah.
And we should say Shauna is spelled S-H-A-U-N-A.
Yes.
And
That's
Holthe,
me.
H-O-L-T-H-I-E?
Nope.
Oh,
T-H-E.
just checking.
Close. Everybody pronounces it different.
Okay, it's just H-O-L-T-H.
E. Yes.
And I would love, what book is that? Do you know? We were just talking about letting go of the circus. And
your monkey. Letting your kids own their own, right?
Yes.
Because I want to create empowering things for my kids to be able to feel that they're actually accomplishing and doing things. And if I'm doing everything for them, then they're feeling like, I can't do this. And they start to believe it, and they tell themselves that. And then they don't shoot for the stars.
Yeah.
They are like, well, I can't even remember my own appointments without my mom, so there's no way I'm moving out. And we're not having that.
You got 6 bodies in there. You need some
Right?
of those out.
They're going. I'm raising you to kick you out. And they know that. I've said that from age 5 on, when they're looking at the list and they're like, why do I have to learn how to bake a cake? Why do I have to learn how to clean the oven? Because one day you're going to have to do it for yourself. And I'm not going to have you going, Mom, when you're 25, can you come clean my oven? Be like, no thanks. I'm teaching you to do it now.
I love it.
Yeah.
So our word today is remember, and the importance of remembering. And if you didn't get the first part of this talk, we talked about we were just kind of talking about I've totally forgotten, and the word's remember.
Why it's so important to write things down so we remember.
That's right. I'm gonna go through my list.
And be very specific with what it is you're trying to remember too, right? Not vague. Keep it where
specific.
you're specific.
Okay, and I remembered. We were talking about feeling stuck or unhappy, and I think that is a signal for something needs to change. And that's what you had said. I just started getting rid of things that weren't bringing me joy, or finding new solutions that actually brought joy to not only you but to your kids as well,
Yeah.
and your spouse. And I think that's an important aspect is that feeling of, you didn't say stuck. Did you say stuck?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or just unhappiness. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to evaluate that, not to relish in why we are, but find solutions to change it.
Well, and to not beat yourself up because you're like, well, this is as good as things are going to get, so I might as well just suck it up. Like, that's not what life is about. We're here to have joy and to grow and learn. And when you're feeling stuck and you're not feeling like you're able to grow and learn and have the excitement every day of what am I going to do today? How am I implementing what I'm learning? Then it's going to slowly weigh you down where you're almost in a depression because you feel like life has no meaning.
Yeah. And no accomplishment. With that said, I'm going to slow us down a little bit and say some is just a perspective change, because I think we're a little bit a culture of like perfectionism, and more is bigger and better, and sometimes it's like slowing down and enjoying just
the little things,
right?
Yeah.
And writing down those memories that we think I'm never going to forget.
Absolutely.
Until you do. Okay.
I even got to the point where after reading everything, I had so many different ideas of how I was going to implement this and how I was going to implement that.
Yeah.
And then the next book I read was on habit forming and why it's so hard to form habits, because it's so easy to go back into what you're used to. And that's how most of those people give up on themselves and on their goals happen, because we bite off more than we can chew. You got to start in small little increments. So for me, it started with just basic prayer every day, and I did that for like 3 weeks, just making sure, and I could be like, I did it, and just making sure that that was something I committed to myself to doing. And once it was not something I had to think about anymore, then it was taking my vitamins. That was honestly my second habit that I changed, was making sure I was taking them, because if you're tired and not taking care of your body and your body getting what you need, you're going to be useless to yourself and to your kids. It's the whole airplane scenario when the oxygen mask comes down and they say put it on yourself first, not your kids. It's the same thing with how you fuel your body. So my next smallest thing, and it might seem stupid, but for 2 weeks solid, I just made sure that I felt like I accomplished my day or my routine of my morning when I prayed and had my vitamins. After that, it didn't matter what I did for the rest of the day. I started off slow.
Yeah.
And that led me to go, okay, now I feel like I can take on another one. And I've slowly added to the point where I've got 5 or 6 different habits now that I've started to have in my day, where this is my routine, and my journaling is one of those habits, and exercising. So I swim every day that the pool is open, Monday to Saturday. Every morning I get up at 5:30, and it's not just, if I have to get out of bed, it's I get out of bed. Yeah. And that, making sure that that's how I get out of bed,
makes a huge difference.
That was one of my habits to change, because I'd like to just hit the snooze or lay just a little bit longer because it's so warm and comfy.
Start your day on total procrastination.
Yeah, you do that, and then you're like messed up for the rest of your day. You're starting off on the wrong foot.
Unless you drank your water and took your vitamins.
Just joking. And
no, it's pretty.
There are days where it's hard. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's still days where it goes off and I'm like, oh. But then I'm like, nope, this is my goal. This is my habit. And I get up and I go.
And I think it's when you know your why that becomes a little easier. Yeah. And when your why is beyond just yourself, and when it's, I want to show these humans in my house that you can do hard things, or I need to get this accomplished so I can really help other people. Yeah. That makes a huge difference.
I think, like, taking it one step farther with the why, I actually learned from Dean Graziosi, his book, Millionaire Success Habits, how to find your why to the point where you don't need that motivation anymore. And it's going deep enough to actually have it as a emotional, physical, spiritual connection of a why. Because if you are just having it as, I'm teaching my kids, that's only going to last so long. Especially because one day they're going to be like, Mom, I don't want to listen to you. You don't know what you're talking
Whatever,
about.
we're already there.
Right? And so you can't rely on just, I'm teaching someone. It has to be deeper, and it has to connect to your soul. It has to be something where you emotionally feel where you're overwhelmed when you think of it. And it's
like
crazy powerful. And when I got Dean's book, I ended up getting it off of one of those infomercial things that he has on Facebook.
Where they just give it to you for free?
Where you give it for free and you just pay for the shipping.
Fantastic free books out
and
there.
I was like, okay, let's just do it. And so I got it. And I started,
Dean.
Right? Dean, you're awesome. You're one of my mentors, whether you realize it or not. So I'm reading it, and I got to the second chapter, and I couldn't do it anymore. I was at because this was like back in September, and I was just like, I can't do this. Like, this is a workbook. This isn't just a brain candy read kind of thing. This is
this
like
is no
working
chiclet.
on, yeah, this is you learning to change yourself. And he wanted you to describe your why, to figure out what it was you wanted. And I mentally wasn't there yet. It actually took me till after seeing Rachel Hollis at the Movie Mill at that live broadcast or streaming that she did, that actually made me go, oh, there's something bigger for me. And then I could revisit Dean's book. It wasn't till February when I reread Dean's book and I could finally answer the questions and go through it. But I wasn't ready back in September when I got the book. It actually intimidated me so much that I hid it in my closet and I was not looking at it again because I was like, I am not ready for this. And I think that there's certain things that lead you up to being ready. Yeah. If you follow the little signs along the way that lead you to growing, when you all of a sudden go, oh, that's why I feel stuck. Yeah. There's little cues along the way that lead you to the next thing and the next. Because I had probably 8 or 9 different things that led me in a row that just led me from this to this to this, that I needed all of them, but I couldn't have had them in a different order, or it wouldn't have impacted me the way that it did. And so it changed the whole paradigm in how I view things and how I do things. And so if you're not at that point where you're ready to read any of these books, slowly, take it slow.
Drink water.
For the first 3 weeks. Half your body weight in ounces of water a day, and start to evaluate, are you happy?
Yeah.
Is there something else you'd like to do out there? Like, there are so many people that I think just kind of go with the flow of the day and don't really have any point to it.
And start really being intentional with your life. I feel like my life hasn't changed a ton, but the intention around it has changed a lot, which has been kind of like you said, that just those whys now aren't, but they're very much intrinsic. The other thing I think of too is my one girlfriend said, like, imagine life as a pie. I love pie. I had no problems with this analogy.
Pie is what speaks to my soul.
I know. Shirley and her cherry pie is amazing. Anyway, but she said if any one piece of your pie is too big or disproportional, if that piece goes missing, all of a sudden your life is in shambles. And so, as moms, it's really easy to give kids this huge, big piece of our pie. And then when they're gone, it's like, what do we do? And I think, like my little mathematical mind likes all slices to be even because I don't want to get the small piece of pie.
Yeah, I don't want to be left with the small piece at the end.
But I like that analogy because it just made me think, hey, is this, when things affect me too much, is it because I've let that piece of pie get too big or too small, and kind of keeping things in a balance or in an order like that, I find helps me remember.
Yes.
Okay, so the other thing is why things need to change. I want you to tell us why
I needed to change.
Yeah.
Well, you actually said it just in your last little bit.
Oh, well, I'm just so smart. You're welcome.
I could feel...
Never mind, don't answer. We'll go to the next question.
Okay, I'm good. I'm kidding. Like I said, I have older teenagers, and they're starting to leave. And
has the 19-year-old left?
Yeah, actually, she rocked my whole world. She left when she was 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which actually proves my theory in preparing them because I prepared her way too well. Just saying. That's a whole nother story, but she did. She left when she was 16 because she didn't want to be in a small town anymore. She ended up holding down 3 jobs and finished high school, and now she's working full-time in a place where they usually don't even hire 18, she's almost 19-year-olds. and she's saving up to be a surgeon. Like, she knows where she wants to go, and she's well on her way to getting there.
I don't know if I can do that. I wanted to leave it.
Right?
I guess, though, that's part of the process of letting them be who they're going to be.
And when she did, I was like, okay. I said, life is hard. Pick your hard. It's either going to be hard at home or it's going to be hard on your own. Life is hard. Welcome to it. Which one are you going to pick? That's the one. All right. I love you. Come visit once in a while.
Don't bring me grandkids yet.
Right? And she's very good with that. But that was her thing, and that was her. And I think that everybody has this assumption that this is how we do things, and it has to look this way, and it has to be this way. And we get in this rut of living our lives the way other people expect us to live our lives. And if we do that, that's when you start to feel stuck even more, because you're living up to someone else's expectations of what you think they want for you, not what you actually truly want. And so if I would have held her back, I'd be going against everything that I had been teaching and saying for the last 16 years. Did it crush me? Just a little. Okay.
Just a little.
Just a little. But she's an incredible, very independent, self-sufficient, and motivated daughter. I can't wish more than that on her. That's what.
So
what was your for all my kids.
What was your surprise from that then? Like, what was your happy take home? Did you just say it, or
did I say what? Sorry.
What in leaving at 16 and seeing her grow? What was the happy surprise ending, or the?
Well, I guess that she did it, right? For the first couple months, I was like, she'll be home. I really did. I was like, she'll just crash and burn, and she'll come home, because that's what every parent thinks, right? You send your kid out a little early because they're like, let me go, and you're like, hey, everybody, don't help her, just let her realize what life's like on her own. And she totally took the bull by the horns and was like, I'm proving you wrong. And she did. And I love that she did.
Yeah.
I am okay with being proven wrong. Absolutely. In that I'm not above thinking that, I know everything. That's not me at all. But for her to see it in herself, for her to be able to say, I worked 3 jobs. I put myself through the rest of high school, because she still had 2 years left.
Yeah.
She got 80s in her classes, if not higher. She volunteered. She was on committees. Like, honestly, the girl lived a great life, other than the fact that she really had to work hard for everything because we didn't give her a penny.
Nice. Which is not a bad lesson.
No. And she did it, and she's still going, right? She's asked to move home a couple times since graduating high school, and I'm like, sweetheart, that would be giving you a disservice. It would, because then she'd start to think, see, I can't do it. It's too hard. I can just go home. Or I need my mom to do this for me. And I am not about creating more dependence on me. I want her to be independent. So that's my focus. It really was.
Oh,
as hard as it was for 16, I still did it. And, thankfully, my 17-year-old is still at home, and she's like, I ain't leaving until I'm graduated. So my other kids have learned
I'm
from
riding this roller coaster through.
My other kids have learned how hard it can be.
That's true.
They really have. And I can say that my 15-year-old, he's just a little bit more like my 19-year-old, and he's put it out there a couple times. He's like, I could do it too. I'm like, I know you could, sweetheart. Do you want to? He's like, well, you cook kind of good. So I'm pretty sure the food's what's holding him home still.
That's
but
okay.
I am, that's what I want for my kids. I couldn't, it might have happened differently, and I had parents that looked down on me, seriously, you're just going to let her go? How dare you? At least when she's under your roof, you know what she's doing. But you know what? There's a bigger picture out there, and I believe in my daughter, and I think that's a greater gift to give her than holding her back because this is how parents raise their kids.
Yeah. No responsible parent lets their kid leave at 16.
Who knows what she's going to be doing? You're right. Who knows what she's going to be doing?
She'd probably do it under your house, too. Under the roof of your house,
and
too.
I'm very much you know what? If you want to do it, I believe in you, right?
Yeah.
I did give her the whole, I think you'll be back. But if anything, that just fueled her to stay even more.
I know.
It gave the right kind of fuel. And I didn't rub it in. And, you know, it was never, gee,
wasn't
if you
about,
hadn't have left, or,
yeah.
like, never. My younger kids kind of taunted her with it a little bit. You're not really part of the family. You left. And it hurt her.
Which is
She
the
didn't
right
like
of
that.
siblings.
But I'm like, I can't control what comes out of their mouths. But she knows she can do hard things.
Yeah.
Like, she knows she can do it. And my younger kids can see that she is strong, and that by doing the things that I have been raising them to do, they'll be able to be strong and independent too.
I love it. If you're just joining us, my name is Danielle Low, author. Oh, I like how that sounds.
Are you going to write a book?
I actually am almost done my book. So
Exciting.
author was kind of just a little
Sneak peek.
yeah.
A little toying with you here.
I Am Eve is my other baby that I should never leave home at 16. Just kidding. It's the one baby that won't ever leave me because it's not real.
Yeah.
It's just a place for women to meet, and I do events that focus on kind of what we're talking about today, remembering how wonderful life should be. Oh, I should, such a guilty word, but how wonderful life
Can
is.
be. Yeah.
Just is. And if it's not, changing things to make it so. And I am here with Shauna Holthe, and you can just check her out on Facebook or at Shauna Holthe on Instagram.
Good job.
Or just Google Shauna Holthe with a U and Holthe.
Yes.
And the word we've chosen today is to remember. And we've gone through this whole thing. We did talk about habits.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read The Power of Habit?
Yes.
Okay.
I totally did.
One of my favorite books ever. When you talked about forming new habits, I'm like, oh, please say you've read this book.
Yes, I absolutely did. It was the audio version. I listened to that one because I've gone way more audio for it because I can do so many other things while I'm listening, and I absorb just as good. So.
Yeah. Oh, I love audiobooks, especially being mom in the car.
In the car is the best. And then your kids get it too because they're forced. They're stuck there. Yeah. So some of that is actually rubbing off. Like my 17-year-old, she has gone through and read at least 5 of the books that I've read recently, and she has found her own why, and she's like going to town. Oh. She's so determined. It's amazing to watch the process and how quickly in such a short amount of time, because she started about 4 months ago. Yeah. And I started in January, and she's way farther along.
Well, kids are so wonderful that way. I find them so full of optimism, and when you, like, they haven't been, like, slapped too hard with life.
Yeah.
Usually.
Well, and with raising them to try, like, with purpose to be independent and empowering, they don't have the same garbage that I had growing up, where it was like, oh, just, do your best, whatever that is. My parents' horror when I, joined the rugby team. What? You do what? Totally shocked them. They're like, we thought you played badminton forever. There's nothing wrong. Sorry, there's nothing wrong with badminton, but my parents didn't think I was an aggressive person. So
really?
For me to join rugby, they were like, you made the rugby team? Yeah, it was a little bit of a shock for them.
Funny, my one daughter, who I wouldn't call super aggressive. She's coordinated, but she's more kind of singing and arts, and all of a sudden she found rugby, and like, oh, okay. Like,
it is amazing.
I want to go back to badminton.
So you have that same feeling my parents had?
No, I'm actually really happy to see her active and part of something. There is a part, though, where I'm like, just don't kill yourself. Like, can we put a few more pads on our rugby players?
Well, except that rugby is actually safer, in my opinion, than like football with all the padding, because when you're in football, you think you're invincible because of all the gear you're wearing. Whereas when you're in rugby, you're not invincible. And so you learn how to tackle properly. You learn how to fall properly. You learn to run faster so you don't get tackled. Whereas in football, the point is to smash into each other. And my son, my 15-year-old, he plays football, and for the first couple years of football, he literally would just bend down with his head and just ram into people. And I'm like, you're gonna give yourself a concussion, cut it out. You're gonna break your neck. And the coaches didn't do anything about it. It wasn't until he got into like a little bit higher the sports where they're like, okay, dude, you can't do that anymore. They were like, your mom's gonna like go blow a gasket. But they taught him how to do it properly. Whereas in rugby, right from the get-go, they're teaching you how to do it properly.
I know. Well,
so if it makes you feel any better, she's getting trained better than the football players.
No, I don't agree with either sport. Really. I'm more of like a let's
like,
hold
no.
hands and sing in a musical.
You're like, can we go back to badminton still?
That's right.
I wasn't joking.
Water polo. That's nice.
Let's do aqua fit.
Oh, that I'm totally for.
Yeah. Nobody's touching anyone, and it's no impact because it's in the water.
Okay, well, and if you do aqua fit or aqua whatever, you'll feel like a superstar because I was the youngest by about 25 years, and
just
my aqua jogging, I'm like, my goodness. No, just joking. There is no comparison.
No.
Don't compare.
It's a great workout, though.
It is a good workout.
It is.
And the older you get, the nicer it is to have those nice, low impact. Pretty soon we're going to be playing pickleball.
Heck no.
Whatever.
We're going to be bodybuilding.
I look forward to the day. Okay, so once we have kind of this why and we're making changes, how do we make it stick? Or when it all falls to pot, what do we do?
Well, implementing the small habits is definitely key to that. Trying to take more than you can and bite off more than you can chew is your one way to fail. And not that failing's bad, because you can learn from it. And I'm a huge supporter of fail forward. There is no fail for me. There is no perfection for me. Perfection is a myth. I think it's being complete with who you are and accomplishing the best of you and not to someone else's standards. With failing, it's all learning opportunities. The only difference between you and someone who succeeded is they failed more than you have.
Or failed better.
Yeah. Or just
or remembered.
Or didn't remember. Or
remembered the
lessons.
lessons.
Who didn't give up, right? That is the biggest difference, is don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself some credit. You can do this, and take it little bit by little bit. And if you need to work on drinking your water for a month before you can start taking on another habit, then do it for a month. If you have to do it for 2 months, at least you're working towards something, and it's something small. And as long as you're mentally making notes that this is how I'm changing and this is what I'm working towards next, that's going to get you along farther in life than being like, well, I just fail at everything anyway, so I even try.
Yeah.
Or I failed, I suck. I'm not like so-and-so. And the other is comparing someone else's middle to your beginning. Yeah. And that's what Rachel says all the time too. Don't compare your beginning to my middle.
Yeah.
Because that will totally beat you up.
Well, one of the things in schools right now is that they're talking about like grit and perseverance, and I love that they show on the school walls people who have failed a bajillion times but now are successful, but they're telling the whole story.
Yeah.
And often one thing that I've been learning too is that just because they have a super successful ending doesn't make it any better than just my normal finding joy ending of little. I don't know if it's littleness or but when there's not that comparison or not that like the ending has to look like this, and that expectation, we can really just enjoy that whole process
and be present in what it is you're doing and in the life you're living. Being present here is the only guarantee you have. You don't have a guarantee of tomorrow, and you can't get yesterday back. Being present right now is what you need to find joy in. And finding that joy comes by recognizing that you're accomplishing something. As small as you want it to be, or as great as you want it to be. I've got huge goals, absolutely monstrous goals. And I've broken it down in Rachel's roadmap, coming backwards on it so that I know how to break it up so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. But knowing that I'm on that path has led me to finally go, I'm happy where I'm at now because look at how far I've come. And think about how far I would have been if I hadn't have stopped all those other times before, right? Like, I'm on my path now, and I'm ready for moving forward. And I'm good with that and living happily in this. I'm learning, and sometimes it's hard and sometimes it sucks, but I'm still growing. And it feels way better than it does being stuck in a rut and feeling like this is all there is to life.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, anyway, not anyway. The beauties of lies. No, anyway. I agree. So, what would be your advice to someone who just feels in that rut? The one place that they can start is
really finding out something that makes you happy. Like, really thinking about what it is you want to work towards. Because you can't work towards someone else's goal. You can't work towards your family's goal, like what the family would like to. You need your own personal goal. What is it that you find that you've secretly always wanted to do, that you're too embarrassed to tell people because you feel like you're going to get judged? Get rid of that judgment and be like, you know what? It might be embarrassing because I've never actually spoken it out loud, but it's what I'm working towards because I want to do it. And be okay with it and own that space. If it's trying out Zumba or high fitness, or if it's taking a photography class, or being a crazy 38-year-old with 6 kids and going back to hair school. Like, that was one of the things that started me on my track again, was being brave enough to go back to school with a bunch of 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds.
No offense, 19s and 20s.
Not at all. But it's huge to do that with a huge family and to make sure that I was all in. Like, I was full out committed. I was there every day because if I was going to take this time away from my family, I was going to be there and I was going to go all in. Okay. And this was before Rachel even told me to go all in.
And here I have one question then for you too is, so you have your goals and your family, you're helping them out. How did your husband react to when he saw you on this new journey and path?
You want to actually, it's really kind of funny because I thought he'd be like, are you crazy? Like, I honestly did. And he was like, yeah, that suits you.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? Like, I was prepared. I was bracing for the total negative to defend myself and you know what I mean? Like, just that, because you kind of have to build up your courage and you start thinking of what the worst case scenario in your head could be when you're like, I'm going to shoot for this. And your husband's like, have fun with that one. Or you're crazy or whatever. My husband's been the complete opposite. He honestly is like, okay, if I can see that. You go for it. If that's what's going to bring you happiness, go ahead. And he's said it a few times where he's like, yeah, it suits you. And I'm just like, how did I never see this? That my big audacious goal actually suits me until I'm almost 40 for me to finally see it. But even my kids, I've told probably 7 different people, and they've all said, it suits you. And
so
I'm
what's
like,
your big audacious goal? Throw it out.
Yeah.
It suits you.
Okay, it suits me. You have to know me a little bit more than just being on camera. But
that's okay.
Honestly, I'd love to do what Rachel does. I'd love to be a motivational speaker on stage and empowering other people to see in themselves the greatness that there is and to believe in themselves. I'm constantly doing it with my kids and with friends and family. And so for me to say I want to do it on a bigger level was what scared me. And my husband's like, yeah, I could see it. Because I also like to talk. I told you, it's going to be a lot of me just talking because I don't stop. But honestly, I love it. It's almost like I can't say enough to just, I have so much in me that just wants to come out.
Well,
yeah.
Awesome.
I just have to get more comfortable in front of the camera and other people.
Well, you can think what you want, but I think you're doing pretty awesome.
Oh, thank you.
And good luck on that big audacious goal. And
thank you.
I think you're well on your way. So,
I'm willing to at least put my hat in.
Right.
Right? If you never put your hat in, you never know what's going to come.
It's true.
So I'm putting my hat in.
Stand in the ring.
And if Rachel ever sees this, because we've shouted out to her so many times. She's going to be like, oh no.
No, I love
Watch
it.
out for Shauna.
No, this is it. There is enough out there for everyone. And
Yes.
so if that's truly what you want, like,
Yeah.
go out and get it. And even, what is the one that, I think her name is Mary. Oh, she's one of my favorites. She has that quote that says, who are you not to shine and, like, be all that you can be. And there's just enough for everyone. And I find that some of those really big people that are already at where your goal is are not saying, oh, like, stay down.
No,
They're
not
saying,
at all.
come join me.
Yeah.
And let's make this world better.
The empowering part, right? They often say you'll never be judged by someone who has more. You'll always be judged by someone who has less that doesn't believe you can do it. So the people that are more, they'll encourage you and they'll tell you to keep going. Whereas the people that haven't reached for the stars, that don't try, will be the ones to pull you down.
I definitely believe that, but I think it can come from both ends too. I think that, but I know what you're saying. I just think there's some people that are just unhappy on both sides of that spectrum.
True.
But I think
But for
you'll
the
find,
most
and you'll
part,
find
I
people
think-
on both sides of
Yeah.
that spectrum that will just say, like, it suits you, go for it.
You can do it, and I totally
And if
think
they're
that I
saying
can.
anything different, reevaluate. Just joking. Not
No.
just joking, but
No,
reevaluate.
keep-
And
yeah.
and those might be important conversations you need to have.
Absolutely.
Because people should say your big goals, your big dreams, your big desires suit you, and how can we get you to do that? So we are at the end of my people, and one of my peeps I'm glad to have shared this last hour with is Shauna Holthe. She is motivational speaker, mom, inspirational blogger, and you can check her out at Shauna Holthe
on Instagram.
on Instagram and Facebook, Shauna Holthe.
Yep.
And that's Shauna with the AU and Holthe with just HOLTHE. And I am Danielle Low of I Am Eve Events.
Thank you
And
so much.
This is awesome. So any last words you want to leave us with, remember?
Just go all in. Remember who you are, and what you are able to accomplish will amaze you as well as everyone else, because you're amazing.
Souviens-toi. For our French viewers, thank you for joining us. All right.
Is it still on?
We good?